we've got two problems with it. The cylinder that's inside of this boom that extends in and out is leaking oil, and the one on the end that tips the basket is leaking oil. There's 3 sections of boom, 2 of them that scope out of the third one, and it has extend and retract cables that have to come out, and the first and the second boom have to come out of the third boom to get to the cylinder, to get it out of there and get it apart. So the first thing we did was we took the basket off, because we don't want to have to deal with all the weight of the basket and everything else. So we took the basket off. That was the first thing we did. Undid the wiring to the pedal. We took the dash panel completely off and we set it on the ground so we didn't have to unwire anything, and then we just took the basket off. So we laid the basket on the ground and we disconnected the train track from the side of the boom all the way up to the back of the boom, and just lay it off on the side of the machine so I didn't have to deal with any of that. I think it's going to make it a lot easier with this all laying on the ground. So we took the butt section and we took the wear pads out and we labeled them, which one goes where. The one on the bottom, we've got all the bolts out of it. And we've got the boom at a level position so we can slide this section, both sections, out at the same time. So we've got our controls here laying on the ground. We've got our extend cables. We've got to take the extend cables now and take them and tie them to the cylinder on the inside. We took this whole mechanism off. I thought it would just be easier to take the whole thing off. So I took the whole thing off of there, and now I'm going to go after these extend cables and get them off and tie them to the end of that cylinder, and hopefully I can just pull the whole thing out of this last section of boom. That's what I'm hoping for. Take the retract cables here and take them loose and let them hang, and as the boom comes out, the cables are going to get longer, so we'll have to pull down on these cables as the boom comes out. So here's my retract cables. I've got them loose and hanging down, and I've put a choker right here around the boom, and I'm going to pull it out a little bit at a time. It's just me, so I'm going to have to pull it out a little bit and then pull down on these and keep those cables coming out. And then back here in the back, the retract, you can see them right here. I've got them tied to the cylinder rod. So when I pull that, it's going to stay right there on that cylinder rod. I got 4 tie straps around there holding it. So surely if a couple of them break even, the other ones will hold it. So now that we've got the boom out of the thing, cut these ties off, and I'm going to try to remove the head gland and pull the rod out right here and just leave the rest of it in there if I can. That's what I'm going to try to do. So there's two load hold valves. One goes on this side, one goes on this side. This is what they look like right here. You got to take the load hold valves out before you try to move the cylinder, otherwise it won't move. Holding the head gland in here was a little set screw. Took it out. Head gland came off pretty easy. I'm draining the oil out of it now. I give her a little slight tug and it's getting ready to knock the packing right out of the front of it. So once I get it out, I'll take it and I'll lay it up on top of this boom here where I can work on it. Interesting way that they built this cylinder where all the oil comes in the head end of it. Pretty interesting. So to get the head gland out, we use this small little adjustable spanner wrench, and it was on there fairly snug. I put a little pressure on it and then I put a brass drift on the top and give her a couple of taps, and it took right off. So extend and retract. I was going to show you how that worked. So when the cylinder is all the way out and your head gland is down here touching, oil comes through this hole, pushes the cylinder back together, retracting. This little hole in the end right here, oil would come down all the way down through the center of it. There's like a pipe all the way down through the center of it where the oil can come out here and extend the cylinder. So it's kind of interesting how it works. There's your piston. A little O-ring behind it, right there. There's your sleeve. And there's what's left of a U-cup. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Boy, that's bad. Man, oh man. Now I just have to show you what's left of that U-cup. Think I got my money's worth out of that one, don't you? Wow. That is bad, 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 bad. I'm surprised the oil wasn't pouring out. So I just pulled the cotter key out of this thing. There's a cotter key hole, goes right through this rod right there. One side was already broke off, and the other side, all I did was barely touch it and it broke off. Always use a new cotter key. If this cotter key would have broken off inside of this cylinder with this thing running and was in here dancing around, it would have scarred up and ruined the cylinder. From the inside out, it would have ruined it. And chances are it might even have went back to the valve body and screwed the valve body up. You don't know, but for what a cotter key costs, put in a new cotter key. Don't ever reuse a cotter key. Throw them away, put in a new one. Just good practice. I take this self-lock and that wasn't bad. Pull that piston off of there. O-ring behind the piston See where it fits in that little groove right there. So you got 2 piston seals, O-ring in the groove, head gland. Pull the head gland off. There's a backup ring and an O-ring here. There's a U-cup and a wiper. Real simple. Real simple. The rod looks good. No scratches or anything wrong with the rod. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start measuring all this stuff. There's this cylinder here, there's no parts available for it. So we're going to have to take each one of these pieces individually, and we're going to have to find out what the groove diameter is, what the thickness of the O-ring is, what the backup ring is, the U-cup, the bore the U-cup sits in, the size of the rod, and I've got a book and we'll look all that stuff up and we'll get parts ordered for it. If you got a local hydraulic shop, you could probably go to a local hydraulic shop. They've probably got what you're looking for. Nothing out of the ordinary. But when parts are not available, that's what you have to do to get parts for the thing. So for those of you who need to order seals online, which is what I do, it's really easy to measure. Like, what we're going to do here is we're going to measure this where the U-cup sits. Here's your U-cup. I just took it out. A lot of times you can look if the U-cup is not 8 up, there will be numbers on the back of it. And you can take the numbers right off the back of it and you can go match them up. But usually they're so deteriorated that you can't get a number off the back of it. So I'm going to show you how I do this here real quick. So once the U-cup comes out, you're going to find out what is the size of the rod. So the rod is 1.750. That's 1 3/4 inches. Jot that down on a piece of paper. 1 3/4 inch rod. I like the ID, the OD, and the height. So the inside diameter is 1 3/4 inches. The outside diameter of the U-cup, we're going to go in here with a pair of calipers. We're going to stick them down in the U-cup groove, and we're going to crank them around until they fit tight, but not too tight, just enough where you can move them. We'll pull them out. We're going to put our caliper on there, and we're going to find out what that dimension is. That is 2.115. So that's just a little bit shy of being 2 1/8. So we'll write that down. Outside diameter is 2 1/8. The height, put our caliper back on our U-cup, and we're going to find out that our height of our U-cup is 3.75. That's 3/8 of an inch. So the height is 3/8. We're going to go to our book. Let me get this camera over here so you can see this really good. Look here, and what I like to use, this one here is rated for 1.5 feet per second, 3 feet per second, 4,000 psi, 3,000 psi, working temperature, urethane. So you pick whatever you're working on to match up with what you've got going on right now. So right there it tells me page 73. I'm going to go over here to page 73, and I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to start looking. And when you look right here, it's going to show you inside diameter 1 3/4 inches, nominal outside diameter 2 1/8, 3/8 of an inch thick. It tells you all these technical that you can look up yourself and make sure that the rod diameter, the throat diameter, the housing diameter, all this matches up. It's going to give you a part number. Come across here, it's going to give you the cost of it. And every seal in this book is like that. People I use. When you go to the front of the book, metric seals, and every different kind of metric seal, wipers, wear ring, dust seals, everything you need to find. If you're doing something and you don't have a hydraulic shop where you can get your stuff, real handy. There's other places out there you can buy seals. This book's really handy because it gives you all the technical information that you need to know so that you get the right U-cup and the right, so that this, you're not going to have trouble. Even the wipers, you go up, look up wipers, get them all right. We'll order up all those seals, and when we get the seals, we'll show you putting it all back together, and we'll show you putting the boom sections back in the machine. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed the video.